What if I told you that the reality you're living today is exactly the reflection of your faith, or the lack of it? This is not magic. It's a principle. Napoleon Hill proved it by studying the greatest minds in history. The Bible confirms, all things are possible to him who believes. In this video, you'll uncover the untold truth about the power of faith. You'll learn why some people win against all odds, while others fail despite having every advantage. We'll reveal the invisible enemies of faith, the habits that silently sabotage your future, and the secret code to turn thoughts into reality. It's not about religion. It's about decision. You're about to activate the greatest power within you, creative faith. Are you ready? Faith is more than belief. It's a living force that shapes your thoughts, emotions, and actions. It doesn't wait for external signs. It commands the invisible. Napoleon Hill said, "Faith gives life, power, and action to thought." The Bible confirms, faith is the substance of things hoped for. When you activate this force within, you begin to rewrite your own reality from the inside out. The Bible in Hebrews 11:1 states, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Napoleon Hill, while studying history's greatest achievers, reached the same conclusion. Faith is the elixir that gives life, strength, and action to thought. This means that what you believe with conviction eventually manifests. Your external reality is a faithful reflection of your internal faith. If your faith is based on fear and doubt, you will live with limitations and frustrations. But if it is anchored in abundance and fulfillment, your life will flourish. The problem is that most people treat faith as fragile hope, something distant. They expect miracles but feed fear. And the result? A life marked by scarcity. But genuine faith is not waiting. It is knowing that victory already exists in the unseen. Jesus said in Matthew 17:20, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move." This is not poetry. It is a mental and spiritual principle. True faith changes circumstances, breaks barriers, rewrites realities. Napoleon Hill saw this in Edison, Ford, Disney, men who believed before they saw. They felt victory as already won, even when everything seemed to fail. Maybe you ask, if faith has so much power, why do so many people live trapped in fear? The answer is simple. Because they feed their fears more than their faith. They think about failure, insecurity, scarcity, and they reap exactly that. Proverbs 23:7 teaches, "For as he thinks in his heart, so is he." What you think becomes belief, and what you believe shapes your decisions. This builds your reality. Hill said, "The mind is like a garden. If you don't plant flowers, weeds will grow on their own. If you don't cultivate thoughts of faith and possibility, your mind will be invaded by doubt and limitation." The invitation is clear. Take control of what you plant. Feed your faith like a fire that needs to be protected, nurtured, and kept burning, even in the face of opposing winds. But having faith is not ignoring challenges. Having faith is seeing beyond them. It is affirming, "This too shall pass. I will overcome." Faith is the foundation of dreams, the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Jesus faced storms and betrayals, but his faith remained. And you? Is your faith active, or has it been weakened by circumstances? The good news is that faith is a muscle, and it can be strengthened with training and decision. In this video, we will explore how to strengthen this faith daily, identify where it has weakened, and transform thoughts into achievements. The change you seek doesn't start outside, it starts inside. Like a farmer who plants with confidence, even without seeing the fruit, you must plant today the thoughts and actions that will create the future you desire. It all begins with the decision to believe. Believe that it is possible, deserved, and inevitable for those who persist with faith. True faith does not negotiate with fear, it advances despite it. If doubts have paralyzed your dreams, this is the turning point. Declare, My faith creates my future. And be ready to dive into the principles that the greatest achievers applied to turn the impossible into possible. Activating faith as a creative force goes beyond waiting for improvements. It is creating within yourself a conviction so solid that it shapes your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Napoleon Hill said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But it is not enough to conceive. You must truly believe, with emotion, intensity, and soul." This firm faith turns into a silent certainty. It's mine. It's already real. It's done. The Bible reinforces this. Everything is possible for one who believes. Mark 9:23. Creative faith anticipates victory. It tastes the result before the struggle ends. When you believe with conviction, your brain changes, your ideas multiply, and your actions automatically align with your new internal state. Think of Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison, Walt Disney. All visualize their dreams before making them real. Jobs saw the digital revolution before the iPhone. Edison imagined lighting cities even while failing. Disney persisted despite being ridiculed by bankers. They all had one thing in common: an unshakable creative faith that saw beyond limitations and built despite them. But beware, creative faith is not illusion. It is not sitting and waiting for miracles. It is faith in motion. The Bible is clear. Faith without works is dead. James 2:17. Faith requires action. It's like planting and watering. Faith is the engine. Action is the fuel. When you unite living faith with decisive action, you create an invincible force. You don't just dream, you build. The problem is that many believe for a moment but give up at the first difficulty. Doubt sneaks in and paralyzes. Remember Peter, while he looked at Jesus, he walked on water. But when he looked at the wind, he sank. Jesus said, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" Matthew 14:31. Doubt corrodes. When you doubt, you stop creating and revert to old patterns. Napoleon Hill advised, "Feed your mind with images and thoughts that are in harmony with the future you want to create." That is, everything you consume, news, conversations, content, is shaping your faith. If you consume negativity, you are sabotaging your power. If you feed your faith with wisdom, gratitude, and inspiration, it strengthens day by day. Faith needs to be trained, expanded, exercised. Ask yourself, what am I believing today? Are your beliefs pushing you forward or holding you back? If there is misalignment, it's time to change. Start by strongly declaring, "My faith creates my future," and act according to that belief. You cannot harvest an abundant life by planting thoughts of scarcity. The Bible says, "Let it be done to you according to your faith." Matthew 9:29. This shows that you do not receive from life what you want occasionally, but what you truly believe. You are the creator of your experience, and the raw material of this creation is faith. Therefore, feed your spirit with hope, declare victory, and act like one who has already won. Active faith transforms thoughts into actions, actions into habits, and habits into destiny. And when you act with faith, doors open, paths appear, miracles become real possibilities. The force you seek is not in the world, it is in you. Now it's time to activate this force and put it at the service of the life you want to live. In the next part, we will identify the great enemies of faith and how to overcome them. You will see that it is not lack of ability that destroys dreams. It is fear, doubt, procrastination, and toxic environments. And knowing how to protect your mind will be the difference between being stuck or living in high spiritual and emotional performance. If you've made it this far, you are already activating something new within yourself. You will learn how to consolidate your faith into daily habits that shield your mind, raise your energy, and completely transform your reality. Your faith is the key, and your decision today is the turning point. Now let's reveal the greatest enemies of creative faith. Many do not fail for lack of ability, but because they allow silent forces to destroy their faith before it blooms. The first and most destructive enemy is fear. Napoleon Hill stated, "Fear is the greatest enemy that a human being must overcome before achieving any great goal." Fear paralyzes, creates doubt, and blocks your creative potential. The Bible confirms in 2 Timothy 1:7, "God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind." Fear does not come from the divine, it is a mental trap. It steals energy from faith and sows hesitation. Think how many times you failed to act, decide, or take risks because of fear of making mistakes, rejection, or failure. Each time fear wins, a piece of your faith is drained. Where fear grows, faith begins to die. The second enemy of faith is doubt. Doubt acts like cracks in a building, silent at first, but capable of compromising the entire structure. When Peter doubted while walking on water, he sank. Jesus asked, "Why did you doubt?" Matthew 14:31. Doubt weakens focus, delays decisions, and turns opportunities into regrets. It must be fought with firm declarations and decisive action. The third enemy is procrastination. Many people nurture faith but delay action. They think, "I'll wait for the right moment. I'll start tomorrow." But tomorrow never comes. Hill warned, "Procrastination is the hidden assassin of opportunity." True faith acts today. Even with fear, even without all guarantees, it moves. Because each step of courage reinforces the belief that it is possible to get there. There is also a less visible but equally dangerous enemy, the environment. Surrounding yourself with negative people who constantly complain, disbelieve, and spread scarcity weakens your faith without you realizing it. 1 Corinthians 15:33 warns, "Bad company corrupts good morals." Your faith is too precious to be exposed to contamination. Protect yourself, filter who you walk with and what you listen to. How to overcome these enemies? The answer lies in 3 essential pillars: mental reprogramming, consistent action, and environment protection. Reprogramming the mind means training your consciousness every day with affirmations of power, faith, and direction. Not mechanical repetitions, but emotional declarations that activate deep beliefs like, "I am capable, my faith is unshakable, everything conspires in my favor." Romans 10:17 says, "Faith comes by hearing." That is, what you hear frequently shapes your faith. So fill your ears with words of life, courage, and faith. Listen daily to uplifting content. Read the Word. Strengthen your faith as one strengthens a muscle. And remember, faith without action is dead. It's useless to believe if you don't move toward what you believe. Acting is an extension of true faith. Act even without guarantees. Make decisions even without all the answers. When you act with faith, you are telling the universe, "I am ready." And the universe responds to your willingness. Every action aligned with the faith you declare strengthens your mind even more. Hill said, "Nothing strengthens faith more than seeing small results emerging from your courageous actions." Faith grows when it is tested and maintained. Protecting your environment is the third pillar. Reduce time with people who drain your energy. Increase contact with those who inspire, push, dream big, and act courageously. Your environment is like the soil of a seed. If toxic, faith does not germinate. Surround yourself with books, videos, music, and people who nurture your vision, not your fears. You become similar to what and whom you spend the most time with. Never underestimate the power of your repetitive thoughts. Napoleon Hill wrote, "You become what you think about most of the time." Dominant thoughts charged with emotion and faith end up materializing. If your mind is full of fear and limitation, your life will reflect that. But if it is full of faith, victory, and purpose, your life will be consistent with that internal vibration. At this moment, choose consciously. Will you focus on scarcity or abundance? Will you move with fear or with faith? Will you wait for perfect conditions or act with what you have? Transformative faith is not the one that waits for external signs. It is the one that lights the inner light. When your mind decides to truly believe, reality begins to change around you. External life obeys the internal command. The great figures of history faced huge challenges but did not let fear win. They decided their convictions would be greater than their fears. And you can too. What may be missing is not more knowledge, but more action based on what you already know. And faith is the starting point. Faith that acts, that moves forward even with doubts, that refuses to give up even when everything seems dark. Let's now turn all this into practical habits. Creative faith manifests in small daily choices, silent thoughts, words, and attitudes. The first habit is to think with faith. Your thoughts are seeds. Think of abundance, solutions, healing, success. Every thought of victory is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your mind. Thought with faith. You have already begun to create. But bad thoughts are also seeds. Fear, doubt, and scarcity are weeds that must be pulled out as soon as possible. Hill said, "The human mind translates into reality any dominant thought mixed with emotion and faith." In other words, what you believe with emotional strength tends to become reality. So, train yourself daily to think like someone who has already won. The second habit is to speak with faith. Proverbs 18:21 states, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." What you repeat constantly shapes your atmosphere, your vibration, and your future. Stop saying, "It will never work. It's too hard. I can't." Replace it with, "I'm prepared. The impossible is just the next step. Everything is aligning." Speak like someone walking towards victory, not like someone who complains. Every word of faith is a brick in the construction of your new reality. When you declare with conviction, something moves in the invisible. The third essential practice is to act with faith. Start with simple but consistent steps. Want to prosper? Organize your finances. Want health? Change a habit today. Want professional growth? Study something new. Don't wait for perfection. The right moment is now. Every small action done with faith opens invisible paths. Life responds to your boldness. Miracles manifest where there is courage combined with conviction. But there is a fourth ingredient that multiplies the power of faith: gratitude. Gratitude is the amplifier of faith. The Bible says, "In everything give thanks." 1 Thessalonians 5:18. Giving thanks before seeing the result is proof of living faith. Gratitude anticipates victory. Napoleon Hill observed that the most successful achievers cultivated daily gratitude. By giving thanks, even for small advances, you change your frequency. Your mind leaves scarcity and enters abundance. Start today. Write down 5 things you are grateful for every morning, and every night thank for the day's victories. This habit transforms your perspective and strengthens your faith every day. Gratitude and faith form a cycle of exponential growth. When you give thanks, your mind convinces itself it is already received. And this generates more faith, and more faith generates more results. So put it all together. Think with faith, speak with faith, act with faith, be grateful with faith. This combination will transform your reality from the inside out. Not because everything changed outside, but because you changed inside. Jesus taught, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Mark 11:24. Faith does not wait to see. It believes, and therefore sees. The life you dream of already exists in the invisible, waiting for you to believe enough to bring it to light. You are not a victim of fate. You are a co-creator. Your mind has this power. Your faith has this strength. Now is the time to fully activate this power. Your faith shapes your reality, but it is your consistency that sustains it. It's not enough to believe for just one day. Faith needs to become a lifestyle. When you think, speak, act, and give thanks with faith daily, your mind aligns with the creative power. Napoleon Hill said that emotional repetition transforms beliefs, and strong beliefs build strong destinies. Faith is inner discipline, not just a moment of inspiration. Remember, the real battle is not outside, but inside. You are not fighting against the external world. You are fighting against internal doubts, old fears, automatic habits. Whoever wins inside wins outside. Jesus overcame in the desert before overcoming on the cross. Hill said, "Master your mind and you will master any circumstance." Faith is the key to this conquest. A trained faith becomes unshakable. You don't need to be perfect to activate your faith. You need to be willing to change thoughts, review attitudes, break patterns. Transformation happens one thought at a time, one word at a time, one action at a time. Faith grows with use, and the more you act on it, the stronger it becomes. Don't wait to feel ready. Act even while feeling fear. That is true faith. Create an internal and external environment that favors faith. Start the day with silence, prayer, or positive affirmations. Read something that strengthens your hope. Choose well what you hear, who you spend time with, what you watch. Your faith needs constant nourishment. A toxic environment can destroy what you're building internally. Protect your mind as if it were a treasure, because that's exactly what it is. Build your routine around faith. Small habits have multiplying power. Visualize your future in detail. See yourself living the life you desire. Feel gratitude in advance for what is yet to come. Declare that it is already real. Hill observed that the greatest achievers intensely visualized their goals. They didn't just dream, they saw themselves there. Faith with a clear mental image becomes a creative force. If you make mistakes, don't blame yourself. Correct, learn, and move on. Guilt destroys faith. True repentance strengthens it. Believe, no matter where you are now, it's possible to start again. Faith is starting over, even without guarantees. Hill said, "Temporary failure is just a test. Active faith looks at failure and says, this will push me forward, not stop me. Stay firm, you are growing. Affirm daily, my faith creates my future." Write this phrase on a paper. Stick it on the mirror. Repeat it out loud. Over time, this declaration will shape your subconscious. When the mind believes, the body acts with more confidence, emotions organize, and opportunities begin to align. What was invisible starts to take shape. Everything begins with a choice. The choice to live with active faith. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. They don't exist. True faith begins in the now. Start with what you have, where you are, the way you can. The universe responds to initiative. Napoleon Hill said, "Don't wait. The moment will never be perfect. Start where you are." This decision creates a new field of possibilities. Progress is born from movement, and movement is born from faith. You were not created to live a mediocre life. There is a call to greatness inside you. But that greatness only manifests when your faith is greater than your fear. Your mission begins when you decide to believe. The abundant life you desire will not be a matter of chance, but of your constant decision to act like someone who has already won. Even when the eyes do not see, the heart knows. Don't confuse faith with emotion. There will be days when you feel fear, sadness, fatigue. That is human. But faith is not about feeling. It's about deciding. You decide to continue even without motivation. Decide to declare even without seeing. Decide to act even with doubts. Living faith does not depend on how you feel. It manifests when you act based on what you believe, not on what you feel at the moment. And when your faith meets resistance, persevere. Don't give up. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Many failures are from people who gave up when they were very close to success." Faith is tested, yes, but every challenge overcome strengthens your spiritual muscles. Each obstacle conquered builds a new level of confidence. You're closer than you think. Keep going. Declare. Act. Believe. Declare every day, "I am guided by a faith that moves mountains. I lack nothing. Everything works for my good." Repetition with emotion reprograms the mind. A reprogrammed mind attracts new ideas, and ideas aligned with faith produce new attitudes. The result is inevitable. A new reality begins to be built from the inside out. True faith always bears fruit sooner or later. Faith is also generosity. When you share what you learn, you strengthen what you believe. Help others awaken their own faith. Send this message to someone who needs it. Speak words of encouragement. Spreading light strengthens your own light. Hill said, "You only grow when you help others grow." Faith that expands everything around it. Prosperity, peace, meaning, and purpose. The world needs people who live by faith, who do not surrender to fear, who believe in abundance, who plant hope. You can be that person. You can decide today that your life will not be led by fear, but by faith. You can build a new story. The decision is in your hands. Faith is choosing the path of inner certainty. And when you choose that path, everything changes. You've come this far because something inside you already knows. You are ready to change. Ready to create a new reality. And that reality begins with faith. Applied faith. Living faith. Faith that thinks, speaks, acts, and gives thanks as if the miracle has already happened, because it already has, in the invisible. Now it's your turn to bring to light what is already yours by right. Declare right now, "My faith creates my future." This phrase is more than words. It's a pact with your destiny. When you write it, declare it, and live it, something changes. The invisible begins to organize. Doors open, answers appear, and fear loses its grip. Because now your mind is aligned with your mission. And when mind and mission align, heaven itself conspires in your favor. Faith is not magic, it's a code. And you just activated that code. Share this video with someone who needs to reignite hope. Together we can inspire thousands to reprogram their minds and live with purpose. Don't keep this message to yourself. The more light you spread, the more light returns to your life. And remember to subscribe to the channel to keep receiving content that strengthens your faith, your mind, and your spirit. Your future begins now. The abundant life doesn't depend on luck, but on decisions. And the most powerful decision you can make is live by faith. Train your mind, protect your environment, act with courage, and declare daily the truth about who you are. Napoleon Hill taught that the mind is the battlefield, and whoever masters that field masters everything. You can. You will. Start now. You are not here by chance. If you've come this far, it's because your soul was called for more. Something inside you is awakening. It's time to live with purpose, with power, with clarity. And it all begins with this decision. I will not let fear dictate my life. From today on, I am guided by creative faith, consistent action, and abundant gratitude. This is the new foundation of your destiny. And as Napoleon Hill wisely said, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Believe deeply, declare boldly, act with intention, and live with purpose. Your faith is your greatest power. Use it, activate it, and completely transform your reality, because in the end, it's not what happens to you that defines your life, it's what you choose to believe.